welcome to Cranial Plasma Studios. I am your host, Russ Maines, and welcome to my house. This is where all the magic happens when I'm not being a professional engineer for a living, okay? So that's my real job. I've been doing engineering for a long time in the government, believe it or not. So I am a government, contractor, I guess you could say, for the government. You can go to LinkedIn and go look at my profile if you want to, or you could just type me up on the magical internet, and I'm sure you'll be able to find out who I am and what I stand for and what my religion is. That's rock and roll. Okay, no big secret. All right, so welcome to my studio, and of course you're going to have to ask me that one question: why am I here, and why are you sending me your money? Well, I've been in the music thing for about 35, 40 years. You probably don't know who I am, and that's okay, all right? But I have some music published out there, and I consider myself a standalone artist, but not really a great vocalist. I'm working on that all the time. And of course, as a standalone artist, you have to do everything, including songwriting, singing, guitar playing, piano playing, whatever it is you do. You have to do all of it yourself, and it takes a lot of time. So I'm not going to lie to you. That's the number one thing. And the other thing that I want to tell you, unlike probably your other gurus out there, is I don't want you to be following me around forever. I don't want to take your money forever. I just want to give you the content that you need, and there's a lot of it. I have 30-something, maybe 40 years of doing all this. There's a lot of content I want to be able to share with you. And I'll give you what that list is after this introduction. So number one, and so that's number two. I have a lot to give you. But the big thing is I'm not going to lie to you. So like most of you guys, and I'm going to read this because I wrote it down, like most of you guys, I've had plenty of sessions with other musicians. I've talked to almost everybody I know in the music biz who's trying to make a living, and I can tell you one thing. As a musical artist, or for any artist for that matter, you're probably going to spend more money than you make. All right? And if you plan on doing it for a living, i.e. making money, you need to be exceptionally great, okay? And you can only do that by putting in a lot of time. And the odds are incredibly difficult and hard to realize, but they are against you. So it is possible to dedicate your entire life to the music business and completely fail. It happens more often than not, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, as they say. But what are you going to do if you don't necessarily want to give up, right? Well, music is sort of like an engine, and once you get it rolling, it can kind of start creating things on its own. It can start pulling things along with you like any other vehicle. So you're going to need tools. And I always think that music is kind of like an engine. It has a lot of parts, and it keeps it moving along. And in order to find out why music works and how and all that, you need to find out how it works. And that's how I'm going to be able to translate that information to you. All right? So then, when a part of it isn't working for you, you can know how to fix it, right? But it's going to take time and a ton of it. Now, the fuel for your motor, of course, your musical engine, is money. Like any other business, you need to invest money. The oxygen part is your time. The more you put time into it, okay, the more comfortable you will be in building every single part of the engine yourself or through others, okay? Your job is finding the right balance between putting in your time and money versus doing stuff on your own, okay? Now, I'm going to make an assumption, and that assumption is you got talent. Some people don't, okay? They still think they're musicians, but they have fun, and that's okay. All right? So you need to challenge yourself and take care of any insecurities and weaknesses that you have, and then do that a lot. Do constantly work on it. Now, Max Gladwell had a book called Outliers, and he basically said the reason that the Beatles were so awesome was because they put in like 10,000 hours of practice time before they even came to the United States. Now, think about that, okay? 10,000 hours singing in an audience and playing a guitar in an audience, okay? That's 3.5 years at 8 hours a day. And that's just to be exceptional, to be the Beatles. Now, most musicians don't do that. They don't have that amount of time, at least initially. And so my favorite example of a successful band who has never put in that amount of time up front is Kiss. That's because they had a vision. They wanted to do stuff in a more theatrical way and put on the makeup and all that. And it took some time to do that. But it didn't take them 8 hours a day and 3.5 years to do it. They also had an opportunity. They were in New York City and they had people around. Now me, I worked on a farm when I was a kid, 20 miles away from the nearest big city, and my neighbors were probably a half a mile away from me in any direction, and I just didn't have the opportunities. So I had to kind of do everything on the internet. And then once I grew up and moved out of the house, I moved to a city, where there's some more people. And even then, it was really hard for me to find the right people that I needed in order to make my music stuff successful. So it's taking a great deal of time. Then I did some travel, went and joined the Army, got a job, got a college education, got another job, and before you know it, you pop out a kid, you get married, and then you're 54 years old talking to people you don't know on the internet. And so that's me. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a part-timer. But like me, you have to be an awesome musician, right? And if you want to be an awesome musician, singer, songwriter, producer, it'll take you your entire life to accomplish, unless you do it for a living under a mentor of somebody. Now, if you just enjoy playing in your garage, I encourage you to do that. The content here I will give you will help you actually be a better garage musician as well, okay? But just bear in mind that the pros, even like Kiss, they only play like 18 songs a night, and I've done that for about 2 hours for about 40 years. And after about 40 years, you're going to be pretty good, right? Well, I've been playing for about 40 years too. And not nearly as good as those guys are. So again, I'm not going to lie to you. So what's in this for you? Well, saving time. I've screwed enough around with bands to know talent can get wasted on alcohol, drugs, being popular with the girls, okay? So if you look at your average cover band, let's say, you look at their day jobs, most likely they're a mechanic or a property manager somewhere, okay? And they're perfectly okay with that. So being popular and hanging out at the dive bar, it kind of works for them, And so as long as they are heroes in their neighborhood, they're good, all right? I know plenty of guys like that, and especially in Florida, right? They have no higher aspirations. Now, for me, on the other hand, I've tried to work with these guys, and I've never had that much luck. They have all the talent in the world, but they didn't really want to go anywhere or do anything. They had no vision. They just want to play cover songs because it's quick money and it's easy. You don't have to write anything. There's no risk, right? But I always wanted to take a big risk, and I've never been able to find any other people like me. And that's mostly because I live in a suburban or rural area. If I'm in a big city with tons of people, then it's, the chances go up. So anyway, I've taught myself how to play guitar, but I've read books on how to do it. Same thing with keyboards and recording. I've read tons of material on music theory. I got it all figured out. So my thinking is I want to save you some time. So, all right, number one. Number two, if you want to do this for a living, know that you're special. You are different, and you are most likely on your own. But not completely. I'm here for you, and I want you to learn from my mistakes, okay? And in the end, I want you to go out and find another teacher who can elevate you further than I can possibly do here. All right, so what do you got to have? Well, there's instruments, there's audio equipment, there's teachers, there's coaches, there are music producers, and all that. My instruments are Kiesel. That's all I play on. I happen to love them. I think they're the best American-made instruments you can find for the money. That's my opinion, for what it's worth. I also swear by Carvin Pro Audio. All of my Pro Audio equipment, microphones, and all that stuff are Carvin. Now, they're expensive, but not too expensive. And still, you can always say, hey, look, there's no reason to spend all that money on musical equipment and pro audio if 99% of the people in the world can't tell the difference. And you would be right. Unfortunately, the professionals do know the difference. And if they are the gatekeepers through which you want to get your music label started or music band started, you will need to either have good equipment or have access to good equipment. Because if you want to give them a demo, they'll be able to tell. And as soon as they have a crappy recording, you're in the can, okay? They're not going to talk to you. Today's music industry professional wants professionally produced instruments, music, and vocals. They will not take anything else. If they do, that means they're just scratching around for talent, and they might be able to front you some money in advance to get that album recorded, but that's not the way it is pretty much anymore. Now, my guitar stuff, my guitar teacher, philosophy, and all that comes from Doug Marks. Doug Marks is the author of The Metal Method. I highly encourage you, if you're a guitar player, to learn from his material. He has a really good point of view about how to stay organized and how all the music works. But I also have my point of view. There are certain things about the way tablature is written, the way that music is written, that I don't think is really necessary to be a good guitar player. All you need really is a good ear. And as long as you got that, you can figure it out on your own. Nevertheless, it's good to read from somebody who actually knows what they're doing in terms of the technical stuff, so you can kind of put it together and make it work for you. Vocal coaches, Jim Gillette from Nitro, right? Roger Burnley from Singing Made Simple, Ken Tamplin from Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, Melissa Cross from the Zen of Screaming, right? Those are my coaches. And so I've taken everything I can from them too, and I'll walk you through some of the stuff, and I'll give you their references. So I don't want you to pay me in order to get their lessons, because that's kind of stealing, okay? But again, I have my own sort of philosophy, and it works for me based on my experience. But in the end, vocals are still the worst part of my day. I love to sing. I just wish I could do it better. Mostly what happens is I start opening my mouth and people fall asleep. So that's not good. That's why I'm always trying to work on it. My songwriting tools come from Ralph Murphy, from Murphy's Law of Songwriting. They come from Morgan Cryer from Beginner's Luck, and Tom Worth from The Basics of Songwriting. Each one of these guys were great teachers. My music production techniques, I actually learned a lot from Stuart Epps. He's been my producer, and he's really good, and I've listened to his stuff, and I happen to like what he does, so I kind of mimic his techniques, and then if I can't get exactly what I want on my own, I just call him up, and then I send him some money, and he fixes it for me, so that's good. And then, of course, there's music publishing. So if you're a songwriter, you want to publish music, right? So my music publisher is Eddie Caldwell. He's out of Chicago, and his business is called Music of the Sea. His biggest people are Alicia Keys and Beyonce Knowles, okay? So it took me about 8 years of writing and recording and production to get all that stuff figured out, actually to get my music published. So it's a huge achievement for me. But you'll also notice if you do a Google search, you'll find a couple patents out there that have my name on them too. So yeah, I'm kind of used to going through these gatekeepers and trying to figure out what it is that they need in order to take me to the next level. So after all is said and done, equipment, producers, teachers, coaches, all that other stuff, I can tell you I probably have invested somewhere around $50,000 of my own dollars. Have I ever gotten paid that much? Well, not yet, but there's always hope. I just don't have the 10,000 hours in at the same time as some of the kids coming out of school these days. And these guys, these high school students have time on their hands to do practicing, so they're really good. It's taken me a longer time since I've never really started that way. But there's the uncomfortable truth, and that's the place where I will leave you. The uncomfortable truth is that everybody in the music business makes money off of you. The music producers, the publishers, and all those guys, the licensed people, they make money off of you, right? And you are the last person to get paid. That is the way it is. Your chance of making money in the business in the first place is very, very exceptionally small. But it's very rewarding if you get it out there on the radio. It's awesome listening to your stuff. So there is hope. The music business does want you, right? But they only want you to make money for them. They want your unique voice, but they want to make sure that they can definitely put a bank on you, so that's why they like telling you what to do, so you can, do your audience thing. So I would encourage you to go and get Leah McHenry's book on marketing your music on the internet, because once you build your audience, you don't need any of those guys anymore. You can bring in 6 figures and live very comfortably as long as you stay with who you are and you talk to your audience. So once you've worked to get your audience, just make sure you do everything you can to keep them by making sure you give them the content that they really will enjoy. That also means that you can grow as an audience. And I even know people who have a different model where they get people to subscribe to their music instead of just buying a CD. But the big thing is, try not to follow too many trends. The music engine will grind you up and spit you out. So in order to succeed, you actually have to be yourself and never compromise on what the experts say. They're not interested in your audience. They're only interested in making money at your expense. So don't let them do that. Always talk to your audience. All right, so that's it. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to save you time. I want you to learn from my mistakes. I want to be your coach long enough until you find your next ones. And I'm warning you that you're going to spend a lot more money than you probably need to. So I don't want you to walk away empty-handed. Refer back to my material at any time. And once you're a member, you're a lifetime member, I will never ask for another penny. And I'm not going to market to you any other stuff that you don't need. All right? So again, I'm Russ Maines. And thank you for taking the time to listen to myself rattle on. Stay tuned.